My name is Kevin. I am a UCLA graduate with a degree in economics. I graduated back in 2020. I moved to San Diego after I graduated to work in a tech company. I left the tech company about a year after working with them and have started my own business, and I'm working on a startup business in the supply chain space. When I met Mr. Haven, I was looking to apply for colleges. I didn't really know where I wanted to go or if I even wanted to go to college. I just knew that I should work with somebody to answer those questions. I was lucky enough to meet Mr. Haven, who was going to work with me on my personal statement. He did so much more than work with me on my personal statement. Mr. Haven always brought a positive attitude. And I think that was really important when I was younger because being 17 years old, I'm coming into these appointments after a sport practice, after a sport game, after a club meeting, after a test. My emotions were all over the place. Some days is great, some days is bad. And Mr. Haven always met me with the biggest smile and the most positive of attitudes. And because of that, it didn't really matter how I went into the meeting feeling. I always left feeling confident and ready to conquer the world. Mr. Haven is also very patient and empathetic. I had some childhood trauma that I never worked through. So it was bottled in me. Mr. Haven, when we were working on our personal statement, encouraged me to ask myself some hard questions and was there with me when all of the emotions came pouring out. And it never felt like I was a burden. He always made me feel like he is a friend and he's a great listener. And he made me feel like these are going to be okay. And I can feel any way that I want. I could be anybody that I want to be as long as I am, true to myself and honest to those around me. Mr. Haven is a mentor. Mr. Haven is a friend. Mr. Haven is a professional. Mr. Haven knew what he was doing, but to a 17-year-old kid, he did it with such grace that you didn't even know he was doing his job. A lot of after school counselors, a lot of consultants really do treat you like you're a name on a large piece of paper, a long list of names on a piece of paper. And I never felt that way with Mr. Haven. I was so much more than just a name. I was so much more than just another client that he's working with. He really cared for me. He was a mentor. He was a friend. He was an older brother. I looked forward to speaking with him every week because I knew that he can offer a lot of wisdom and insight that I really needed at the time. So it was so much more than college consulting and personal statement. It was really more like life consulting and self-development. And he did all those things on top of creating a rockin' personal statement that eventually got me in UCLA. And I'll share with you guys my grades are not competitive at a UCLA standard. My extracurriculars were. So my personal situation, even more so than anybody else's, required a very, very smart and honest personal statement so people can understand who I am outside of my numbers, outside of my grades, outside of my SAT scores. And Mr. Haven was able to do that for me. And because I got into UCLA, it completely changed the trajectory of my life. I became educated. I became a scholar. I understand the value of humbling yourself and going to school and the value of schooling. And now that I'm an adult, working adult in, the real world, I can tell you that if it wasn't because of Mr. Haven and everything that he's done for me, I won't have the life that I have now. And I love my life right now. So this is for you, Mr. Haven. I guess everything that I do in every moment of joy and every smile I radiate to those around me was because of you.